Too far for Ronaldo to think about it. Oh, absolutely sensational!
Round the goalkeeper, can he score? Yes! Perfect start! Manchester United, Rashford forces the terrible mistake from Buffon. And Lukaku's got another.
Here's Rashford, found by Martial. Rashford, lovely feet, brilliant goal!
Welcome back, football fans. Today we're reliving the night Manchester United went to Paris with a depleted squad, the odds stacked against them, and still produced one of the most impossible Champions League comebacks in history. A night that stunned PSG, silenced critics, and reminded the world why this club's name is synonymous with miracles. Stay with us as we relive the miracle in Paris. The night United tore up the script and wrote their own ending. 1. The miracle in Paris. PSG versus Manchester United, 2019. It was March 6th, 2019. Paris Saint-Germain had already done the damage in Manchester. A 2-0 first leg victory at Old Trafford that felt like a death sentence for United's Champions League hopes. They were missing 10 senior players through injury. Paul Pogba was suspended. Their starting 11, a patchwork of academy graduates, fringe players, and a few war-hardened veterans. Nobody, and I mean nobody, believed they could turn this around. The Parc des Princes was loud, confident, almost arrogant. Paris Saint-Germain were already dreaming of the quarter-finals. For United, this was supposed to be the end. But from the opening whistle, something felt different. Romelu Lukaku, so often criticised that season, pounced on a defensive mistake just 2 minutes in, sliding the ball past Buffon to spark a flicker of hope. It didn't last long. Mbappe and Bernat combined to level the score on the night, restoring PSG's advantage. The crowd roared, and for a moment, it seemed like United's fight back was over before it had even begun. But Lukaku wasn't finished. On the 30-minute mark, Marcus Rashford's long-range strike was spilled by Buffon, and Lukaku was there again, ruthless, hungry, to make it 2-1. Still behind on aggregate, but within touching distance, the game became a war of nerves. PSG pressed, United countered. Every clearance, every tackle, every sprint felt like it was taken from the very core of their willpower. Then, in the dying moments, the twist. A VAR check. Kimpembe's arm blocked Dalot's shot inside the box. The referee pointed to the spot. Marcus Rashford stepped up. 21 years old. Quarter-final hopes resting on his shoulders. One breath, one strike, top corner. United had done the impossible. A 3-1 win on the night. Through on away goals. Paris stunned into silence. It wasn't just a win, it was a statement that even when written off, Manchester United could still rise from the dead. 2. That night in Turin, Juventus versus Manchester United, 1999. It was April 21st, 1999. The Stadio delle Alpi was a fortress, and Juventus were the kings of European football. Manchester United had drawn 1-1 in the first leg at Old Trafford, an advantage for Juve, who held the away goal. From the start, it looked like the dream was over. In just 11 minutes, Filippo Inzaghi had scored twice. 2-0 on the night, 3-1 on aggregate. The Italian giants were cruising. The United players looked rattled, and for the fans watching back home, it felt like the Champions League final was slipping through their fingers. But here's the thing about comebacks, they never start loud. They start with belief, and that night, belief wore the captain's armband. Roy Keane, booked early and knowing a suspension would rule him out of the final, refused to drop his head. On the 24th minute, he met David Beckham's corner with a towering header, 2-1. Game on. The shift was instant. United grew stronger with every pass, every tackle. Juventus, once dominant, started to look human. Dwight Yorke made it level on aggregate with a beautifully crafted goal after slick play with Andy Cole. Suddenly, the impossible was within reach. Then came the killer blow. With 5 minutes to go, Yorke broke free, was brought down by the keeper, and the ball fell kindly for Andy Cole. Cole steadied himself and slotted home. 3-2 on the night, 4-3 on aggregate. Manchester United were going to the Champions League final. It wasn't just a comeback, it was a turning point in their treble-winning season, proof that even against the toughest opposition, they could find a way back. And the man who lit the spark? Roy Keane, a captain who sacrificed his own final to drag his team to it. Third camp, no glory. Bayern Munich versus Manchester United, 1999 Champions League Final, May 26, 1999, Camp Nou, Barcelona. The Champions League Final, Manchester United chasing history, the final piece of an unprecedented treble. But within 6 minutes, disaster struck. Bayern Munich's Mario Basler curled in a free kick, and United were behind. From that moment, the German champions tightened their grip, defending with discipline, striking on the counter. United pushed forward, but the breakthrough wouldn't come. They were missing their heartbeat. Roy Keane and Paul Scholes both suspended. The midfield was patched together. The clock kept ticking. By the 80th minute, Bayern had already hit the post and the bar. The final was slipping away. Fans began to accept the heartbreak. Even the trophy had been prepared with Bayern ribbons. Then came the moment that would live forever. In stoppage time, with desperation in every movement, United won a corner. David Beckham swung it in. Ryan Giggs' scuffed shot fell to Teddy Sheringham. One touch, one shot, goal, 1-1. The United fans exploded, but before anyone could process what happened, they did it again. Another corner. Beckham delivers. Sheringham flicks. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the super sub, stretches out a boot and fires it into the roof of the net, 2-1. In the space of 102 seconds, Manchester United had turned defeat into immortality. Sir Alex Ferguson's words after the match summed it up. Football bloody hell. It wasn't just the greatest comeback in Champions League history, it was the night Manchester United became eternal. The stunner at the Etihad, Manchester City versus Manchester United, 2018, April 7th, 2018. The blue half of Manchester was ready for a party. If Manchester City won the derby at the Etihad, they would be crowned Premier League champions, and they could do it in front of their fiercest rivals. The build-up was electric. City fans came armed with banners and chants, ready to celebrate not just the title, but the humiliation of Manchester United. And for the first 45 minutes, it looked inevitable. Vincent Kompany powered in a header. İlkay Gündoğan added a second with a slick turn and finish, 2-0. City were cruising. Pep Guardiola's men could have been 4 or 5 ahead before the break. In the United dressing room, the mood was tense. Manager Jose Mourinho kept his words short. Don't be the clowns at someone else's party. Whatever was said, it worked. 6 minutes into the second half, Paul Pogba burst into the box, met Ander Herrera's chest pass and slammed the ball past Ederson. 2-1, a flicker of hope. Just 2 minutes later, Alexis Sanchez picked out Pogba again with a pinpoint cross, header, goal, 2-2. Suddenly, the Etihad was silent. United were not here to roll over, they were here to ruin the script. On 69 minutes, Chris Smalling volleyed home from another Sanchez delivery, 3-2 to United, from the brink of embarrassment to the brink of glory. The final whistle blew, and City's title party was put on ice. United had produced one of the most dramatic turnarounds in Premier League history, right in enemy territory. It wasn't just a comeback, it was a message. The red half of Manchester still had pride, and they would not be props in anyone else's celebration. 5. The 6-minute madness, Manchester United versus Nottingham Forest, 1990 FA Cup, January 27th, 1990. The FA Cup third round replay at Old Trafford. Manchester United were struggling in the league, the pressure on Sir Alex Ferguson already mounting. Some newspapers were openly calling for his sacking. On this cold Manchester night, Nottingham Forest, one of the strongest sides in England under Brian Clough, stood in their way. A loss here, and many believed Ferguson's time would be up. The game began tight, tense, and full of nerves. Both teams battled for control, chances were scarce, and the crowd's anxiety was palpable. Then, just past the hour mark, the spark was lit. Mark Robbins, a 20-year-old striker barely known outside the club's faithful, latched onto a cross and coolly slotted the ball past the keeper. 1-0 United. What happened next became a whirlwind. 6 minutes later, United doubled their lead. A surging run down the wing, a sharp cross, and Brian McClare smashed the ball into the net, 2-0. Old Trafford erupted. Nottingham Forest pushed to get back into the game, leaving gaps in their defense, and United capitalized again almost instantly. A defensive error, a quick interception, and Neil Webb buried the third goal. 3-0. In the space of 6 chaotic minutes, Manchester United had gone from a side on the brink of collapse to a team surging toward the next round. It wasn't just a win, it was the night that may have saved Sir Alex Ferguson's career, and as history would show, that changed everything. 6. Ronaldo's return heroics. Atalanta vs Manchester United, 2021. November 2nd, 2021, a crisp Champions League night in Bergamo, Italy. Manchester United's group stage hopes were hanging by a thread, and the pressure on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was reaching breaking point. Cristiano Ronaldo had returned to the club just 2 months earlier, bringing with him sky-high expectations, but United's form was inconsistent, their defense fragile, and the noise around the manager deafening. Atalanta struck first. Josip Ilicic's low drive squirmed under David De Gea, and the home crowd erupted. United were rattled, passes went astray, the tempo was sluggish, and the atmosphere turned tense. Then, out of nowhere, the lifeline. In first half stoppage time, Bruno Fernandes produced a magical backheel to set up Ronaldo, who swept the ball into the bottom corner, 1-1 at the break. But Atalanta refused to fade. Duvan Zapata powered through United's backline midway through the second half, restoring their lead. The clock ticked on. United pushed forward but looked out of ideas, their Champions League campaign staring at disaster. And then, in the 91st minute, the script flipped. A loose ball fell to Ronaldo just outside the box. One touch to set himself, and he unleashed a volley so pure it seemed to hang in the air before crashing past the keeper. 2-2. The away end went berserk. Another late rescue act from the man who built his career on rewriting endings. It wasn't just a point, it was a reminder that no matter the chaos around them, Manchester United still had a player who could bend the game and time to his will. 7. The Old Trafford Siege. Manchester United vs Arsenal, 2009, May 5th, 2009. Champions League semi-final, second leg. Old Trafford was already buzzing before kickoff. Manchester United carried a 1-0 advantage from the first leg, but Arsenal, with their attacking flair, were dangerous and desperate. The Emirates crowd expected fireworks, but they didn't expect United to set the place alight in just 11 minutes. From the very start, United pressed with ruthless intent. In the 8th minute, Cristiano Ronaldo's darting run opened space for Ji-sung Park, who pounced on a defensive error to slot home the opener. 1-0 United. The away goal doubled their aggregate lead and silenced the home support. Then came the thunderbolt. Cristiano Ronaldo, 40 yards from goal, lined up a free kick. It was audacious, it was outrageous, and when it flew past Manuel Almunia into the net, the Arsenal players looked stunned. 2-0 on the night. 3-0 on aggregate. Arsenal tried to respond, pushing men forward, but it only opened the door wider. In the 61st minute, United countered at lightning speed. Rooney to Ronaldo, one touch, one finish, 3-0. Game over. What made this a comeback wasn't overturning a deficit, it was the context. Arsenal were unbeaten at the Emirates in Europe. United were defending champions, but the pressure was immense, the margin for error slim. In a tie where many expected Arsenal to rise at home, it was United who unleashed a storm, scoring 3 away goals in the most hostile of environments. That night in North London, Manchester United didn't just win, they announced to Europe that they were still the kings and no fortress could hold them. 8. Moscow Rain Redemption. Chelsea vs Manchester United, 2008 UCL Final, May 21st, 2008, the Luzhniki Stadium, Moscow. An all-English Champions League final for the first time in history. Manchester United vs Chelsea. The rain poured relentlessly, turning the pitch into a slick stage for drama. United struck first. Cristiano Ronaldo rose above the Chelsea defense in the 26th minute, meeting West Brown's cross with a bullet header. 1-0. The United end erupted, scarves spinning in the Moscow night, but Chelsea struck back before the break. A scrappy exchange in the box ended with Frank Lampard slotting the ball home. 1-1 at half-time. The rain kept falling, and the tension only grew heavier. Extra time brought agony. Didier Drogba saw red for a slap on Nemanja Vidic, leaving Chelsea with 10 men. Still, neither side could find the winner. Then came penalties. The shootout was nerve-shredding. Ronaldo missed his kick, handing Chelsea the advantage, and when John Terry stepped up for what could have been the winning penalty, the blue half of London held its breath. But fate intervened. Terry slipped, the ball struck the post, United was still alive, sudden death followed. Ryan Giggs converted. Then Edwin van der Sar guessed right, diving to his left to save Nicolas Anelka's penalty. 3-1 on penalties. Manchester United were champions of Europe once again. It wasn't a comeback in the traditional sense, but on that rainy Moscow night, United came back from the brink of defeat, from Ronaldo's miss and Terry's moment of destiny, to claim the ultimate prize. The Great FA Cup escape. Manchester United versus West Ham 2016, April 13th, 2016. The Boleyn Ground, a stadium rich with history, hosting one of its final FA Cup nights before West Ham moved to the Olympic Stadium. Manchester United arrived under pressure, their season teetering between mediocrity and hope. The quarter-final replay was tight, tense, and fiercely contested. Both sides carved out chances, but it was West Ham who struck first. On the 54th minute, Dimitri Payet, in the form of his life, delivered a curling free kick so perfect it felt preordained. 1-0. The roar from the home crowd was deafening. United looked rattled. The clock ticked past the hour mark, and the dream of Wembley began to fade. Louis van Gaal's side needed something, or someone, to change the narrative. Enter Marcus Rashford. The 18-year-old academy graduate had already made waves since his debut earlier that year, but this was different. In the 72nd minute, Anthony Martial slid the ball to him just inside the box. One touch, a shimmy, and a curling strike into the top corner. 1-1. Hope restored. 4 minutes later, United completed the turnaround. A scramble from a corner, the ball bouncing loose, and Marouane Fellaini was there to bundle it over the line. 2-1. West Ham threw everything forward in the dying minutes, but David De Gea stood firm, producing save after save to deny them. The final whistle blew. United had survived the storm, overturned the deficit, and booked their place at Wembley. It was more than just an FA Cup win. It was a night where the new generation, led by Rashford, announced themselves on one of English football's grandest stages. 10. The Theatre of Dreams awakens. Manchester United versus Tottenham 2022, March 12th, 2022, Old Trafford under the floodlights. Manchester United against Tottenham in a Premier League clash with top four hopes hanging in the balance. The build-up was dominated by questions about the manager, the team's form, and most of all, about Cristiano Ronaldo. At 37 years old, was he still capable of producing magic when it mattered most? It took just 12 minutes to answer. Ronaldo picked up the ball 25 yards from goal, took one touch, and unleashed a strike so fierce it swerved past Hugo Lloris before the keeper could react. 1-0 United. Tottenham hit back through Harry Kane's penalty, but minutes later, Ronaldo was there again, finishing off a slick move to restore the lead, 2-1. Still, Spurs wouldn't go away. Harry Maguire's own goal leveled the match at 2-2, and the tension inside Old Trafford was suffocating. United needed a hero. In the 81st minute, they found him, the same man who had been answering critics all night. From a corner, Ronaldo rose above everyone and thundered a header into the net. Hat-trick, 3-2 United. The Theatre of Dreams erupted like it hadn't in years, not just because of the goals, but because of the statement that in the moments when doubt is loudest, Manchester United could still summon greatness. That night wasn't just about beating Tottenham, it was about belief returning, even if only for 90 minutes, to the club and the fans who live for nights like this. From the miracle in Paris to the last gasp glory of Camp Nou, from Turin to the Etihad, from FA Cup rescues to Premier League thrillers. One truth runs through them all. Manchester United's greatest weapon has never just been talent, it's belief, it's defiance, it's the refusal to read the script when the ending looks inevitable. These comebacks weren't just about goals, they were about moments. The header from a captain who knew he'd never play the final, the teenager curling one into the top corner under crushing pressure, the veteran striker proving time hasn't tamed him. For decades, Manchester United have made a habit of finding life when the clock says there's none left. They've turned despair into euphoria, silence into roars, doubt into history. And while players, managers, and eras change, the spirit of those impossible nights never fades. Because at Old Trafford, it's never over until it's over. Now it's your turn, football fans. Which of these comebacks do you think is the greatest in Manchester United history? Or did we miss one that deserves its place in the top 10? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's settle the debate. And if you love reliving football's most iconic moments, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the beautiful game's most unforgettable stories. Because in football, just like in life, the final whistle is only the end.